How do you think the Major came to have the letter?
I wouldn't put it past him to have written it himself, in the hopes of getting some sympathy from me.
And the other letters?
He probably wrote those too. If Angeline paid the first, that would have given him the money to pay the second letter. He is the White Knight, saves the day, and expects to live here happily ever after.
Didn't expect Madame van den Bosch to be so blunt with her thoughts towards the Major. I was under the impression that there was more to their friendship, not less. It's quite the nefarious plan that Madame has laid out for the Major. Not sure I can believe he would go to such levels of deceit. I'm sure Mademoiselle Angeline will have an opinion on the matter. I'd like to ask you about Monsieur de Silva.
What is it you wish to know?
You two have been friends for some time now. And while I do not mean to pry, has your relationship only...
If you are trying to insinuate that Mr. de Silva and I are running around like schoolchildren, you could not be further from the truth. He was friends with my husband, for goodness sake.
Oui, I understand they worked together. Investments, if I am correct.
Mr. de Silva was the voice of reason that my husband should have listened to more often, instead of throwing our money at businesses that were already on the verge of bankruptcy.
Merci, madame. I shall not bother you any further.
I've gathered all I need from Madame van den Bosch and Mademoiselle Rihanna. I should return to the Great Hall. Right. Have I got any... Ooh, I do. We've got a possible deduction. Right, Rihanna took ice on her own accord. Worked with family for years. The Major didn't thank her. Okay. Believes the Major was the blackmailer. But Angeline disputed it.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
Angeline and Cassandra have different impressions of the Major. There must be a reason for this. So we're going to talk to Angeline. Right, let's have a chat then.
Is there something I can help you with, detective?
Your maman did not describe her friendship with the Major in such a positive light.
You have got the wrong end of the stick, detective. Maman has snapped at him recently, but it was nothing more than that. It was something to do with the letter. I heard them in the library before Maman shouted and he stormed out of the room past me.
Okay.
Could it have been the blackmail letter that instigated their argument?
Why would Maman be upset with him over the letter?
Madame is of a very different opinion from yourself regarding his connection with the letters. She believes him to be the author.
That is what she told you? She has always been one to make a quick, if not rash decision, but she cannot truly believe that.
Was the Major aware that you had paid the first blackmail letter?
I don't recall telling him directly. I did not want Maman to find out it had been paid. If he knew, surely she would.
Madame believes he may have been behind all the letters, and taking your payment of the first, then used it to pay the second and be the hero in you and your mother's eyes.
I never knew Maman had such an imagination. Where would she get a story like that from?
The library.
That is a question I was hoping you may be able to answer.
You have met him. Do you really think he's capable of such a devious plan?
It is a plan only the most crooked and underhanded could create. Is that the Major? I am not so sure.
What if it's Gideon? Gideon. Because then it doesn't matter. All he has to do is have the money. The more I think on Madame's story, the more ridiculous and obscure it sounds. But that does not mean it cannot be ruled out. It can be ruled out.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
Okay. Right. Questions Cassandra's reasoning for the Major's blackmail. Okay. Is that a connection?
I must act on thought and...
Questions Cassandra's reasoning for the Major's blackmail. No, I don't think that connects to anything. Oh, actually, it could connect to here.
Order and method.
Cassandra wasn't happy with the Major. Is that... Oh, goes across. Major didn't have much to say.
I cannot see the logic in this.
Well, sometimes you do that. Oh, right. Gideon paid it.
Things are beginning to become clearer.
I wonder if the blackmail had a greater effect on their relationship than expected. Oh.
Is there something I can help you with, Detective?
Apparently. Was the arrival of the blackmail letter what caused the tension in Madame and the Major's relationship?
I'm afraid it had been that way for some time. Maman is not forthcoming with her emotions, as I'm sure you are aware. But I could tell she had not been happy with their arrangement for the last few months.
What gave you that impression?
There was not one particular thing that she expressed. It was just the way she spoke to him and of him when he wasn't present.
Oh, right.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
Okay. No, nothing new. Okay. Now, there's Gideon here, so he might have a bit of information. Oh, hello. There's Margot.
Bonjour, Monsieur Demir.
Detective Poirot, how are you?
The truth, monsieur. With each step towards uncovering the blackmailer, I am thrown 2 steps back as to the identity of the Major's killer.
Is there something I can help you with?
Oh, yeah. I asked Monsieur Sterling to move the body.
Archibald came to me and asked for my help in the matter. My brother and I dealt with it.
Merci for your help. It is a job that only the professionals should have to undertake.
It's a job that had to be done, although it may have affected my brother more than I.
How so?
At the sight of the body, the color drained from his face. Once we had reached the cellar, Zachariah took himself straight off to bed, without even a good night.
Okay, so that sounds like he didn't do it. Have you spoken with your brother this morning?
I have not seen him since last night. I'm sure he will have been fine after a good night's sleep.
Oh dear, are we slowly getting picked off? Imagine the alcohol would have acted as a sufficient sleeping aid.
He does not need his younger brother checking in on him.
Perhaps that is exactly what he requires.
I'm not sure what he told you yesterday, Detective, but he's a big boy. He can look after himself.
I worry that may not be the case, monsieur. His time in the war came up in conversation more than once during our conversations.
He's still talking about it? I thought talking to the doctor would have stopped all of that.
Yeah, while in the study, I noticed the Major's safe was locked. Would you know who has access?
Felix and Madame van den Bosch are the only ones with keys, as far as I'm aware. Oh, and Archibald. I'm sure I heard Felix asking him to return something to it once.
I wonder why Monsieur Sterling did not mention this previously.
Merci.
Yeah, there's more and more things popping up about the butler. You know, the butler did it, etc., etc. Therapized. Zachariah was therapized after the war. Archibald has a key. Shocked by the Major's corpse. Okay, this one maybe?
This will not get me any...
Okay, but those are the connections we have. We haven't got anything with Zachariah. I actually don't know what he's going to connect to. Right. Cassandra and the Major's relationship? No. Ransom value? I mean, okay, it could be there.
Is there something...
But then, I think that would have been there. I don't think these connect. That wouldn't make any sense. Gideon paid that off. No. No, that doesn't make any sense. No, so that's a different thing. Zachariah was shocked by the Major's corpse. But I think the only thing mentioned in the corpse there... Is it that one? No, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. And I think if it were something like that, it would have been closer. Oh no. Those two, that's the connection.
I should not be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
I've heard of men returning physically from war, but their mind remains on the battlefield. May have shell shock. talk to Gideon again.
If it will help you.
Your brother was seeing a doctor.
When he returned from the war, he was a different man. Everything became about what he had seen.
I cannot speak from experience, but I can only imagine the horrors he must have witnessed.
The first weeks he would wake in the night, screaming. I found him one night, cowering behind a desk in the study. When I tried to help him out from beneath it, well, it was the first time I had ever feared for my life.
That is not why you two are no longer close?
And not at all, Detective. We were always very different in nature. While I had always wanted to follow an academic path, Zachariah was more of a free spirit. Or at least as free as our father and the laws would allow.
And yet, he ended up in the military. Quite the contrast.
Our father demanded that he at least try to do something with his life. And when some of his friends joined the army, he signed up with them. It wasn't long before he moved out from the family home after his return from the army. I always assumed that he had put the war and everything that came with it behind him and was moving on. But now I see that is far from the truth.
Okay, that hasn't really given me anything new, has it? Okay. Marco. We'll go around and get more
Countess,
information.
I wonder if I could ask you some questions.
That is it, detective? No small talk? No inflating of one's ego?
I am afraid not, Countess. With the murderer still loose in the house, my mind is rather preoccupied.
Well then, detective, perhaps I can be of some assistance.
Comment, madame?
I thought you might like to know what I found on the Major's body.
Yeah, who gave you permission to see the body?
That certainly piqued your interest.
A man has been murdered, and you find it acceptable to fool around and joke.
Oh, please, detective. Do you really think so little of me? Archibald asked for my assistance. He knows of my medical training from my days as a nurse, and I thought I would be able to help. Even if it has been some years.
It was not his place to grant you access to the body.
I mean, technically, arguably, might not even be yours either, but...
I shall remember to keep my assistance to myself next time.
Yeah. Well, what did you discover on the body?
A single stab wound, which you no doubt already knew. The knife was held in their right hand. I would say their predominant hand.
Prime yourself an order and method. This is far from either. Suspecting a murder investigation to examine the very victim they are suspected of killing. It's like something out of a crime novel. Really. From a character in a crime novel. Although, to be fair, I think that frequently is referenced. I know Holmes references... Oh, what's his name? Poe's... Is that Dupont? So yeah, so okay, to be fair, some characters in books do that as well.
Judging by the depth of the wound, I would say there was no great force put into the strike. More a sign of defense than attack. If I had to say what weapon was used, a small sharp knife or dagger.
Like a letter opener that the game told me it wasn't. They confirm my suspicions of the Major's knife being used to kill him.
I understand it may be difficult for one to keep such information to yourself, but I ask you to try. Your involvement has already tainted my investigation.
You are welcome, detective.
When my superior officer hears of the goings-on in this house, I will surely be seeing the green fields of the countryside once more. I must do all I can to redeem the reputation I have worked to build, starting with finding the killer.
S'il vous plaît, Comtesse. Keep this information to yourself.
I believe I've gathered everything that is required. Mr. Sterling will be able to assist me in gaining access to the Major's study. Nothing, so we just go and talk to Archibald. No, I don't want to play the piano, thank you. Where is he? Here he is.
Whatever you need, Detective.
I wish to inspect the study again.
Certainly, Detective.
This This room is still a crime scene, should have remained untouched, but it looks as though it has been ransacked. I requested Monsieur Sterling to have the body wrapped, a move which has been done, thankfully. What else has gone on in here? Okay. The window's now closed. Very good. We have a different... We have some... Oh, the safe has been opened. Someone's obviously looking for something in particular in the Major's documents. These accounts have been thoroughly rifled through. The Major has recently taken out a large loan. The interest rate is astronomical. Photograph. I must admit, side by side, there's a striking resemblance between mère et fille. Perhaps such flattery is the way to win over Madame Van den Bosch. How strange the Viscount was also present in the pictures but been folded out. Do not think there was any hostility between the Major and the late Viscount. Sealed letter. How strange I could not access this yesterday, but now it has been left wide open. Scratches are obvious around the lock. Someone in the house was eager to see the safe's contents. A half-sealed letter addressed to Madame Van den Bosch from the Major. I'm not one to read others' private mails, but under circumstances. My dearest Cassandra, it feels as though it has been an age since I've been able to set my eyes on you. A day I have waited for so impatiently. I keep the photograph of us together at the lake close to my heart, always. I cannot wait to see how young Angeline has grown. Her beauty will surely soon reach that of her mother's. I hope the gifts from the Orient reached you fine. They are really something to behold. The work that has kept me away for so long is drawing to a close, and I will be returning to the continent within the month. At your request, I have found accommodation in the city. It pains me to think of being so close and yet unable to be with you every moment, but if it eases your worry, I shall not continue to question it. I will arrange for a visit to the house. An old friend returning will surely raise minimal suspicions. I understand the Viscount is also currently out of the country. I hope you have not felt the strain of loneliness take over, and it will be long until we are reunited. Until that day, until the end of mine, my heart is yours, Major Felix Hagen. Seems there is a great deal of Madame Van den Bosch and the Major's relationship that she has withheld. It is clear from this letter their affection for one another has been more than that of friendship for some time. The mention of young Angeline suggests it may go back as far as 20 years. Okay. Does that give me anything? Oh, it does. A few connections to make. Major confesses his love for Cassandra. Relationship issues.
I must take a different approach if I am to uncover the truth.
Okay. And is that maybe why that's torn out?
Come, my little grey cells.
What? Because that's the only new thing, isn't it? Isn't it? Angeline and Cassandra. Viscount's image torn out. No, I don't see that's got a connection, unfortunately. Spent some time putting his feelings down on paper. Why would he not send it? Relationship issues?
Order and method.
No.
That